Hello, this is international football commentator Derek Ray of the EAFC video game and the Bundesliga. You're listening to the SFF Podcast World Cup Special, the home of World Cup 26 banter.
Well, it wasn't a 3-0 battering like in 1998, but the 1-0 defeat to Morocco leaves us once again hoping for a result against Brazil in the final game, just like back in Italia 90. But we already righted one wrong in that tournament by winning our potential banana skin in the opener. The question now is, can we finish the job, or will we once again come home too soon, just in time to wave goodbye to yet another Prime Minister? 7 in 10 years, they're competing with football managers for job security at this point. I'm Krys, I'm back hosting a podcast for the second time this season. How very Mark Biram of me. And I'm joined by a man who, well, can we say fresh from America? Let's see if his voice is returned. Josh, how are you?
The voice is back in action pretty much, mate. Unfortunately, my soul is still in Boston.
Oh, I'm sure we can come on to that in a bit later. But yeah, I'm also tonight got the second best World Cup doctor after Dr. Congo. Good evening, Grant.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks, Josh. Good to see you all. I'm glad to be on the podcast where everybody knows your name. And yeah, it's great to be on tonight. So I thought I'd have a nice wee cheers reference to you all.
Superb. Yeah, we can't move on without first talking about Boston. Josh, how was your experience over
Brilliant. The atmosphere in Boston for the just over a week I was there was unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's a brilliant city, by the way, if you've never been. I didn't quite realise that Massachusetts is kind of, is kind of apparently the most affluent state in America.
there?
Very, 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 very clean city. Really well kind of organised and put together in terms of the infrastructure, public transport, etc. So yeah, brilliant. Loads of things to do in it. Obviously, the kind of birthplace of the American Revolution. So all that's kind of steeped in Boston. Um, you know, um, and obviously there's plenty of statues of the founding fathers in Boston, which the Tartan Army had a good amount of fun with over the peace. Um, the partying was long. It was hard. It went on and on and on to the point where, it's just been reported a lot of the pubs were getting drank dry. That's not an exaggeration, by the way. On several occasions, we would you would get into pubs like later on in the evening, and you could not buy lager. You could not buy light lager, right? Like I think one night we were in Hennigan's or Hennessy's or bar or something. That was one of the kind of Tartan Army hotspots. They only had Guinness or bottles of some IPA stuff. So we were on the Guinness, which after a long day's drinking went down like lead. Um, but phenomenal atmosphere throughout the city. Memories I'll never forget. The game itself, um, getting to and from the game, and this is the Haiti game. I was only there for the one game. Getting to and from the game itself was a shambles, an utter shambles. The train infrastructure was a total mess. Ironically, it seems they worked it out for the Morocco game. At the weekend, one of my mates for the Morocco game, and he said, "Look, the trains were absolutely fine for us." So it seems they worked that out. Um, Watching Scotland come back out for the first time in 28 years at a World Cup and winning, just unforgettable, absolutely unforgettable. My only regrets is that I'm not out there for longer.
Well, hopefully won't be the only one regretting you're not out there for longer, because if we make it out of the group stage, I'm sure there's a few folk are coming home before that. So we shall see how that goes. But yeah, I think Adam will be happy. He was on last week's podcast mentioning about the hopefully learning the lessons. So it sounds like maybe they have been learned for the Morocco game, and hopefully well, I mean, there's a chance we could return to Boston for the fourth game if we make it there. So we
Or
shall see how that
do you know,
plays out.
I think that would be the dream for everybody, for the city of Boston and for the Tartan Army, I think. Because I don't think, from what I'm hearing from my friends out there right now, and as of right now, the Tartan Army will have landed and will be landing into Miami. But the vibes I'm getting from my mates right now in Miami is that it's not quite the same. We'll give it time, obviously, but I think the fact that we were there for so long, you know, just made it extra special. So would love to go back out to Boston for a potential round of 32 game.
I would also love to know what the Bostonians are thinking right now that our noisy neighbours are there.
Well, they're singing about us. That's all they're doing.
Apparently, yeah.
That's all they're doing, singing about us.
I'm sure the locals aren't that impressed. Okay, we are here to talk about the second game, though, Scotland-Morocco, and we all had our high hopes that were 70 seconds dashed. I'll come to you, Grant, first. What was your thoughts on the game?
I'm a bit unsure how to pitch this, because did I expect us to win this game or get anything out of this game? Probably not. Morocco are a very good team. They were semi-finalists in 2022. They are a nation that are unbeaten in so many games. Okay, they didn't win the AFCON final on the pitch. They were obviously awarded it afterwards on a technicality. We won't go there. But, you know, they are a Class A team. They have Champions League winners. They have players that play in the Premier League. They have a very, very good side. But what a terrible start. I mean, you got to get off to a good start in these games. If you're the underdog, you got to set up well. As you said, what was it, 75 seconds or something like that? I mean, it's the worst possible start. It's a tremendous finish. Let's put it out there. It's a really good goal from Sabari, who scored a very good goal in the opening game against Brazil. I watched their game with Brazil before that Scotland-Haiti game that Josh was at, and I thought he took his goal very, very well in that game as well. But it almost panicked us in the sense that I felt for 40 minutes we showed Morocco a lot of respect, in the sense that I felt because it was 1-0, we were like, well, we have to batten down the hatches, because if it goes 2, if it goes 3, then we could be in the end of a hiding. And I understand it, I get it. But as the game was wearing on, I felt like Morocco were almost a little bit unsure what to do. And maybe we got a little bit of belief from that. I thought towards the end of the first half, we started to grow partially into it without creating anything outstanding. We've got a couple of balls in the box. And I thought second half we did play a good bit better, without really creating an out-and-out chance. And my frustration in the game, Krys, ultimately, is we didn't test their defence enough. I thought their goalkeeper didn't have a save of serious note to make. And, you know, to not have a shot on target in the 90 minutes is my biggest frustration in the match. Now, I know, as I said, Morocco are a very, very good nation. There's no doubt about that. The FIFA rankings speak for themselves. But I do feel, and maybe Josh will perhaps counteract me on this, I do think with Clark at times as Scotland manager, we'd have shown opposition probably a little bit too much respect at times. And I felt if we had shown a little bit earlier on in that first half, but also for a little bit deeper in that second half, we could have maybe nicked the equaliser late on and got ourselves a point. There was obviously 2 big penalty claims. I personally thought both of them certainly should have been considered by VAR. I think the one on John McGinn looks the more likelier of the 2. I think the one with McTominay goes in the seen them given category, but I think it would have been very soft. However, if it's at the other end, you know it's probably more than likely to be given. But again, I just felt that we were getting in good areas, but we didn't have that one clear-cut opportunity. And maybe the one, probably closest one I think I can remember was Christie putting one over the top. And I don't really recall Morocco creating too much in the second half, apart from a deflected effort off Jack Hendry that clipped the top of the bar. So maybe Morocco were happy to sit with a 1-0 lead. We could say they defended well, but did we ask them enough questions? I'm not too sure. Did Clark make the right substitutions? Again, I'm not too sure. I think Doak should have started the game. He certainly should have been on at half time. Why it took him so long to come on? We didn't really have an out ball. We didn't really have a threat in that first half. I felt we missed a focal point up top. I think the game didn't really suit Shea Adams, in my opinion. But towards the end, Morocco were hanging on a little bit. I mean, you saw the reaction of one of their defenders absolutely lambasting his teammates for conceding a cheap corner at the end of the game. Now, ultimately, we didn't make the most of it, but it just goes to show you that if we had that little bit of momentum, or stronger momentum, I should say, a little bit earlier on, perhaps there was something there for us. But I just felt it was a little bit of a missed opportunity because there's that golden carrot in front of us that we have to go out and take. You don't want it to come to you. You've got to go out there and grab it. And I feel that was a great opportunity to do that, to take a little bit of the pressure off the game against Brazil, knowing that we would have already more than likely will have qualified. Now we still have something to probably go and get now because it's not an absolute given that what the position we're in is going to be enough. But you can't take those possibilities and those chances. And we know that Brazil, on their day, are a good side. They're maybe not the nation of yesteryear, but they've still got some fantastic players. So overall, I feel mixed. Maybe Josh feels differently. Maybe you feel differently, Krys. But I'm not going to lose all total hope yet, but I am slightly frustrated.
Yeah, I'll put that one to Josh. So you're often the staunch defender of Steve Clarke. He made a few changes. I think we were all expecting changes after the Haiti game, but was it maybe a little too defensive?
Um, maybe a bit, maybe a bit. You could see that there was an idea that Clark had in his head to kind of try and stop Hakimi from playing, which is possibly why he kind of led with Robertson and Tierney on the left side. Um, I think at the start of the group, well, sorry, after round one, right, and when we first seen Brazil, everybody was saying, "Wow, Brazil don't look up too much here." Um, and suddenly we were all saying, "I think Morocco is the best team in this group." So I definitely think that we went into that game thinking Morocco are the best team in this group, and they could potentially batter us here. And we need to, at all costs, avoid a battering. Because a 1-0 loss, you know, I see a lot of people saying that we should, we should have really, really went for it. And I probably subscribe to the idea that we should have went for it a bit more. But if you're talking about really, really gung-ho and going for it and going for the win, um, and then if you do that, the consequences are that you get battered 3-4-0. If we get battered 3-4-0, the tournament's over, right? A 1-0 loss does not mean our tournament is over. Um, you know, Ideally we take a result off of Brazil if we can get a point, or even dare say win against them, great. But even then, because we didn't get battered 3 or 4-0, we can still lose that game and get through. So, so I think that there was a real the weight that's on Steve Clarke's shoulders is far more than any of us, right? We all want Scotland to win, right? Steve Clarke has to make Scotland win. He has to get the results. He's the guy that makes the decisions. So I think it's easy for us to cart for the sidelines and say we should be more attacking. And I'm one of those people. I feel that we probably should have been more attacking in the Morocco game. I think would have been a wee bit better had we set up just a wee bit more with a bit of confidence, maybe start Doak as the game went on and he brought the subs on, particularly last 20, 25 minutes, we were shown that, you know what, we can really hurt Morocco. So we keep going on about how this is the best team a lot of us have seen in our lifetime, Scotland team that have seen in our lifetime. It doesn't always feel like Steve Clarke acts like that. It often feels like he puts the brakes on them. He plays as if they're a team that are actually lower than the sum of their parts, right? When actually the sum of their parts is actually pretty fucking good. So, um, he, yeah, I think he will need to reflect on that for the Brazil game because we can't go into this Brazil game with the same attitude of let's just let's just hold out for a 0-0 or a 1-0 loss. Keeping in mind, a 1-0 loss would also probably still see us qualify. But um, I think Clark, he owes it to the fans and he owes it to the players as well to let them express themselves. Let's not forget how good the team is on an individual basis. And they've all been playing together for years. So they're a well put together team. They know each other's game inside and out. So I would have no fear going in with a 4-5-1, because it will not be a 4-4-2, but I would have no fear going in with a 4-5-1 in a traditional sense. Four defenders, three midfielders, two wingers, or five midfielders, whatever way you want to put it, and a striker. Um, don't know if I think Che has probably played himself out of the starting spot. The question then I don't know is I don't know if Dykes has been quite poor all season. Shankland was poor in the opening game. Question about whether he can play that lone striker. Could Shankland play up top with McTominay sitting off him? There's a question.
That's a very good question. And actually, that's another point, is McTominay hasn't quite hit his usual heights. Now, he obviously had the bit of the stomach bug before the Haiti game. Possibly being played in a sort of further back than he would like position, because certainly it seemed once Christie went off and he moved up and McLean sat behind him, that seemed to free him up a bit. And as Grant lately pointed out, it was a couple of penalty claims and his was the second. What was your thought on the penalty claims?
Well, see, just before we go into the penalty claims there, Chris, I think you touch on a great point with the McTominay playing further back role, right? I mean, you feel like I'm crazy, pals. Am I the only person seeing this? Scott McTominay's been playing as a 10 for the past 2 years. He's been absolutely world class. And Steve Clarke's got him playing six. Scott McTominay must be sitting there scratching his head like, does he know that I've been playing 10 for the Napoli for the past 2 years? I was nearly won the Ballon d'Or. Does he not know that? And he's got me playing six. I don't understand that aspect. The penalties, Grant, I'd like to get your take on them first.
Well, I said earlier on, I thought Steve Clarke thought the John McGinn one was more a penalty than the other one, and I actually agree with that. The one thing I think, however, that counts against it is McGinn fully in control before the contact. I'm not so sure. I think the ball's running away from him, which costs him a little bit. I was surprised it wasn't looked at. That was the biggest question mark. If it had been looked at, I could have maybe understood it a bit more. But that was the one I was more likely. It goes in this. They both go in the seen them given category. The second one, I kind of agree with Roy Keane's analysis on ITV. I think McTominay's looking for it. Again, it's quite clumsy defending, but I think he does enough, and I think McTominay's trying to buy the foul. If it's at the other end, it goes against you, you're raging because it's a soft penalty. But because we're the attacking team, we're looking for it, and it's not given. Is the threshold high enough? I'm not so sure. There's also a bit of a talking point about whether Morocco could have got down to 10 men in the first half. Now, I'll be honest with you, when I was watching it live, I wasn't even thinking about the fact that that could have possibly been the denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. But when you watch it back, you kind of think, that could possibly have been looked at. I think it's quite common knowledge that the Uzbekistani referee, let's be honest, tried to let the game flow on Friday night. He didn't let a lot of decisions kind of be given. Like, there was a few incidences where I thought Scotland should have got a free kick, didn't get them, and Morocco were in behind and had opportunities. And you just wonder if that had been a goal, could VAR have looked at it and maybe gone back to those incidents and ruled them out or what? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, to answer your question, Josh, I think my ultimate opinion is I don't think any of them were penalties, but I could have also seen a side of a coin where both of them or one of them could have been given. If I was to give one, it would have been the McGinn one. But are they high enough threshold? Not sure.
What did you think, Chris?
I was still around. To start with,
Yeah.
the McTominay one I thought was the more likely of the two penalties.
Yeah,
Having
agree.
seen the McGinn one in the light of day, because obviously we were watching at 11 at night, one was 1 in the morning, the McGinn one might actually be the better shout of the two. But at the time, I thought McTominay's was.
Yeah,
I'm not sure about the denial of goal scoring opportunity. I'm not sure it was obvious enough.
No, neither was I. It was very similar to a game in the Scottish Cup between Aberdeen and Motherwell in the season when the guy was fouling him right about the centre circle. Is that a denial of goal scoring opportunity about 45 yards from goal? Nah, I'm not sure it is.
What I would
Yeah.
say though is one was given against Belgium yesterday.
Well, that's true. That's true.
But I still think that was a
closer.
bit more obvious because I think
Yes,
he was away.
yes, and that was very similar in some ways to the Scottish Cup final with Cali and Falkirk. When was it Tremarco that got self for Cali in that
I
final?
think so, yeah.
For tugging the boy's shirt, took a heavy touch and then he brought the boy down. Sorry, we're digressing, Josh.
No. I just got to say, I agreed. I thought the more obvious one was McTominay. Um, both of them, though, seen them given, were egregiously raging that it finished 1-0 due to a Grant Hanley defensive error in the first minute of the game, nearly. Um, but and there were two opportunities for penalties that could have been given. I thought, to be honest, if you were to ask me, I thought the more egregious one was the goal scoring opportunity aspect, and here's why. So I hate this. I hate that this idea of goal scoring opportunity if they're at the halfway line, right?
Mm.
I personally hate that because you get so much distance to go, right?
Likewise.
But the precedence has been set. The precedent has been set. We've seen there. You have named off two or three different examples there where red card has been given, and the distance between goal and player is irrelevant.
Mm.
If you have a situation where a player is going through and he's going to be in a one-on-one situation with the keeper, or a situation where he's going to be able to get a one-on-one shot with the keeper
Mm.
on, he might have a defender kind of running parallel trying to catch him. Um, I just feel that the president has been set that that's a red card. Um, so disappointed not to see them go down to 10 men, but I just feel like the whole the whole issue of re-refereeing games. I mean, it's been my view for some period of time that referees now they rely on VAR. They don't want to make decisions on the field of play. They want to allow the game to flow, as you said there, Grant, and make the easy decisions that they see on the pitch. But for the more egregious ones, they want to allow the safety net of VAR to pick that up.
Mm.
Um, the one positive introduction, just on the subject of refereeing, the one positive introduction to this World Cup, and I'd like to, it'd be interesting to get your guys' thoughts on this, is the review.
Yes.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
in full agreement with this. I
yeah, they
love it.
had that elsewhere. I can't remember
It was
where.
in
I
the
think it was
Premier League. They've had it in the Premier League this
have
season in
they?
England.
Yeah, yeah. I
But
really like
it's
it.
much better in the World Cup. And
Yeah,
I mean, I was actually, as we were recording this, watching Argentina tonight against Austria, and you get a great view of Messi missing the penalty, which was
uh,
quite an extraordinary look at it. But it's a very interesting moment to have a look at that. But going back to your point as well on the penalties, you just wonder, because it's the World Cup, because it's the biggest international stage. We've referenced a couple of examples there from the Scottish Premiership or the Scottish League. Is that a lower threshold than the World Cup? It should be, because the World Cup is the greatest international tournament ever. But I absolutely take Josh's point about a precedence has been set. How relevant is that? I think the distance is very important as well, because Shea Adams probably was going straight through on goal, straight down the middle of the pitch. Would the defenders have come across? I'm not sure.
mm.
But as we've discussed, it's one of these ones. But yeah, it's a frustration. But what can you do? We have to just make sure we try to turn up in the Brazil game to get it done.
Even the Messi penalty today, they took an absolute age to get that one on
Yeah.
VAR. And I
Well,
can understand why, because it was two defenders came
I,
in.
I,
Obviously, one got the ball and one got Messi. So,
I don't think it's the worst decision in the tournament. The worst decision for me in the tournament is Mbappe not getting the penalty
yes,
against Senegal.
absolutely.
That's a clear-cut penalty.
Yeah,
How the referee thinks that Mbappe insinuated contact and then doesn't book him, by the way, I will
yeah,
never know.
yeah, that was an
What
astounding
what
decision.
what about that Messi penalty miss though? By the way,
Yeah.
He's
he's
missed by quite a
he's
bit.
he's going to be Messi's going to be another one of those players that kind of has all the potential in the world, but kind of peters out. He's going to be another one of those guys.
Brilliant.
It was the stat after the game that said he scored 12 of his 18 World Cup goals after being 35. So that's phenomenal. He's scored more after 35 than most people have scored at the World Cup. Speaking of stats, there is one damning stat that Charlie put in the chat the other day, which says Scotland have had just 7 shots on target across their last 5 tournament matches. That's 65 minutes per shot on target against Germany, Switzerland, Hungary, Haiti, and now Morocco.
No great.
That's not great.
Well, it goes back to my original point, which I said at the start, where we didn't have a shot on target in the game, and we're kind of feeling a little bit aggrieved that we possibly didn't get anything out of the game, when ultimately we did test Bruno, the Moroccan goalkeeper, enough. And by the way, Morocco were very good in the first half against Brazil, but they weren't too great in the second half of that game. It kind of petered out to a bit of a chess match, that second half. Kind of was the same in this game a little bit as well. Morocco had the lead, they sort of sat in and sort of said to Scotland, like, have you got the answers? And let's be honest, we didn't. So, yeah, very similar vibes, I felt.
I feel like if we just made those changes a bit sooner, we might have had a better chance. We did end strongly.
Wanted to ask Josh this question, actually. Would you have liked to have seen Finlay Curtis come on at some point?
Yeah. He was positive. He's been positive both games. He's been positive.
Yeah.
He's coming at he's coming at this team like a bolt out the blue. He's
full of confidence.
Exactly, full of confidence. He's probably come in like thinking this is more than he could ever possibly imagine. Went on loan to Kilmarnock for 6 months, had an unbelievable second half of the season. Came back, signed a new contract with Rangers. By all means, is going to be the left mid for Rangers next season. Suddenly out of the blue, called up into the Scotland squad out of nowhere, and he's just going to be bags and bags of energy and confidence, and there's going to be that desire to say, look, I'm riding the crest of a wave here. I can go into this World Cup and really announce myself as a footballer to the world. I don't see any reason why. Well, obviously the reasons why not is perhaps trying to include McGinn and McTominay and Ferguson and all of those guys into the team, but he could have come on sooner, definitely.
Well, if you start Doak and then you bring him off and bring Curtis on, or vice versa, you've still got an outlet. Yeah. I actually wanted to see Curtis and Doak starting with Big Dykes up front, because Dykes is a target man. Give him a bit of service, he could do something. But Clark went with pace. Well, he went with an out ball, but Adams is not really the sort of ball. I think Shanklin could have done the job he could have done. Try and win free kicks, get us up the pitch. That was the frustration. But yeah, it was an interesting question. I wanted to ask that. See what you thought. What did you think, Krys?
I like Curtis. I think I agree with what you guys have said. He's shown good things in the short spell of his Scotland career so far. I hope it's going to be a long Scotland career. And I agree. I think even if you could play both him and Doc, or you could bring one on for the other. I think both of those are options. So it'll be interesting to see if he does get a chance in the Brazil game. I think at that point, we'll shut up and we'll let the voice notes do some talking here. We've got them from Andy, Stephen and John, and I will also throw to John for his interview with Mark Biram, which you may already have seen on YouTube.
You're listening to the SFF Podcast World Cup Special, the home of World Cup 26 banter.
And a couple of mates down south saying that from the Morocco game, they felt that Clark's quite boring and that he's clearly, having got the 3 points in the bag, now just trying to manage the situation out without harming the goal difference. I think that's actually the fault of the tournament rather than the fault of Clark, who is being quite pragmatic about it. We obviously could have been a lot more than 1 goal down after half an hour against Morocco. And after that, they probably could have gone up a gear, but we're happy enough with the 1 goal win. And we pushed a little bit, but I think we were sensible in the way that we did so. And it's a bit of a shame that we can't go full kitchen sink and trying to, equalise in these games, because we've got to have one eye on ensuring that we don't damage the goal difference. And I think the same will be true on Wednesday night, where it sounds like a kind of 1 or even 2 goal defeat will likely see us through, which is a bit unsatisfying, but it's cards have been dealt and we've got to try and get through to the next round. And my only other shout is up front. I don't think we can go with Adams lone striker. That has not worked in the past, and despite being the most limited of the strikers, I think it's likely he'll go Lyndon Dykes up front by himself, just for the chaos factor that he brings.
I think going into the Morocco game, I felt these boys are going to do something. They're going to make history, because I thought for the last 2 tournaments they'll use everything they've learned and put it into the game. And then the game started and Grant Hanley started to play offside and you're 1-0 down within, 1 minute and 10 seconds or something. So it was the worst possible start. The first 30 minutes, I don't think we we were even in the game. We were lucky not to concede more goals. But after that, I felt second half, I felt we gave it a real go. I thought you need to remember that we're playing a top 10 ranked nation on the planet, and I actually thought we deserved a point out of the game. Certainly should have had one, maybe even two penalty kicks on the night. But the referee wasn't competent, or the VAR weren't competent enough to give them. And now we find ourselves going into a game against the mighty Brazil. Probably, do we have to get a point? I don't know. It looks as if a lot of results are going to go in our favour. But do you want to go through that way? That would be my question, and the answer to that is no. You want to go through saying that you've earned it, so hopefully we can get a result against Brazil. I think everybody's saying we need to attack. I agree, but what we need to do is we need to get the balance right between defending and attacking. It can't just be a case of going gun-ho, because Brazil will rip us to shreds up the other end. But we do need to pose a threat so that they know they're in a game. Ben Garendok has to start. You see the outball that he gives us, he must start. I feel like we've really missed a Billy Gilmore this tournament as well, somebody that can get on the ball and yes, create, but also move the ball quickly into forward areas and get us through that transition into an attacking phase. I think that's something that we've really been missing this tournament. But listen, it would be an almighty shock if we get something against Brazil, but I'm going to Miami, hopeful that we can. What I also want to say is, Steve Clark said before the tournament that we'll see a different Scotland. I'm not sure they've seen a different Scotland yet for the last two tournaments. I think I've seen a Scotland that looks, I don't want to say scared, because we did go for it the second half against Morocco, but definitely tentative. We need to remember that we've got players that can hurt teams, and it looks to be like maybe Scott McTominay's carrying something. He's not set the world alight to his standards, whether that's because he's been playing in a deeper role where he is carrying in the goal. I don't know, but he's been disappointing. I think the two best players for us have been Jack Henry and Lewis Ferguson. I think they're the real two that can hold their head high alongside Ben Garendok. But I'm yet to see this different Scotland that everybody's talking about, or that Steve Clark alluded to, should I say.
There's been a lot of chat about the third place permutations, the third place table. Scottish national team WhatsApp put out something today saying where we're sitting. And there's been a lot of people chatting about what they would accept on Wednesday night. What I don't want us happening is being 1 down with 5 minutes to go and settling for a 1-0 defeat. It's defeatist mentality. And it's also a gamble that could backfire on us. I mean, who's to say that Uruguay, for example, won't get a draw or better against Spain in the final game? Ecuador similarly need to beat a German side who have already won their group, who say that won't happen. Similarly with Czechia, who looked very poor in their first two games, doing the same in Mexico, because Mexico, like the rest players, we have to control our own destiny. The teams that normally do well are the ones who control their destiny better. If we're 1 down with 5 minutes to go, we have to go for the draw, because a draw will pretty much guarantee us qualifying for the next stage for the first time. I also think we're overdue a bit of luck against Brazil. In 74, you had that Bremner chance, but it comes to very quickly and puts it wide. You had Italian 90 where Jim Leighton makes a mistake and then Tafarel makes a wonderful save at the other end. And then in 98, you obviously had the Tom Bydon goal. Obviously, 82, Brazil wiped the floor with that day. So maybe we're overdue a result. But Steve Clark has to be a wee bit more positive. We have good players that are capable of getting a result, but he needs to pick the right team. You can't pick Kieran Tierney as a left winger again. Kieran Tierney these days is a backup left back to Andy Robertson for Scotland. So if something happens and Tierney needs brought in for a defensive aspect, maybe bring him on later, but I wouldn't be starting him, certainly not in a left wing position. And I stand by my opinion on the chat that I think Kenny McLean should start ahead of Ryan Christie. I don't think Christie has a good tournament. I think Kenny McLean did very well when he came on the other day. He looked hungry, he was wanting the ball, he was winning the ball better. I think for some reason we haven't got the best of Christie in his natural position, or we haven't really been playing him in his natural position. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm keeping the positivity. I think we're capable of getting a result. My head says that we're going to lose 1-0, but I'm going to go with my heart and think that we'll get a result that will guarantee minimum 4 points.
The attention now turns to the final group game between Scotland and Brazil, who meet for the 5th time in the group stages, equaling a tournament record with Argentina versus Nigeria. To give a Brazilian perspective in this game, we've invited an Englishman residing in Turkey with a great knowledge of South American football. It's co-author of Mundiales by Pitch Publishing, Mark Biram. Mark, welcome back to the SFF podcast. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks for having me back. Doesn't seem long since the last one, but no, it's an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, I can only imagine what the mood in your current homeland is like just now, because obviously as we speak, Turkey are out after 2 games despite having 60 odd shots.
Yeah, a bit grim, and I don't think many people expected it here. I think there was a lot, even in the UK, a lot of people touting them as dark horses, and I guess just the fact they've managed 60 shots. The 2 teams they played kind of semi-parked the bus at least, which kind of shows some respect for them. And then they just haven't been able to put the ball in the net. I kind of feel like if they had 600 shots, they still wouldn't get the ball in the net. It's just kind of, it's been grim to watch.
Yeah, you just don't know what you're getting with Turkey. 1 minute they can be outstanding, the next minute they can be absolutely hopeless, and it's unfortunate from in that regard. Before we go into the Scotland-Brazil game, let's get a book update. Mundiales, I've obviously read it. You were on before with Tim, your co-author. Absolutely loved it. I know Charlie loved it. How well is it doing from your point of view?
I think it's going pretty well. We're getting lots of nice feedback. We don't have access to kind of sales figures because it's early doors, but no, it seems to have been well received. And I think it's quite a unique book. I think obviously being a World Cup year, there's a few different books gone out on kind of global histories of the World Cup, and in the English language, I think it's probably the first one really that kind of really homes in on South America, and as we said in the previous podcast, on kind of what a South American story the World Cup is really. I honestly wonder if there would have been a World Cup before the Second World War if it had been left to Europe, because obviously the Euros only came in the post-war period. So it's kind of quite a South American story, and I just felt really fortunate, really, to have Tim. I had the idea to tell the World Cup from a South American perspective, which I thought was kind of quite a unique idea. And then when I got Tim on board, I thought this is going to be like 10 times better now. I think in the English language, I couldn't. But I don't think I'm going too over the top. I couldn't think of a better person to write it in the English language, really, on South American football. So I was very privileged. He'd probably be blushing if he was listening to this, but I was very lucky to have Tim, and it's come out really well.
Yeah, he's just an absolute fountain of knowledge, and you definitely landed gold by getting him on there. Absolutely, it was a privilege to speak to him in the podcast as well. So it was, but obviously yourself as well. It was a good night, that one. I enjoyed that.
It was. I enjoyed it, John.
Good. Right, in terms of Brazil so far, so they opened up with a draw against Morocco. They got a bit of a mixed perception back in the UK. What was the perception from what you saw of this result?
I guess, from a Brazilian perspective, a lot is coloured by history, really. Obviously the team who's most won the World Cup, 5 World Cups, and the only opponents that they tend to respect properly are those who've also got a lot of football history. So I don't know, for example, Uruguay, who've won the World Cup 2 times, or 4 if you count the Olympics that precede the World Cup, as you will have read. So they'll kind of respect the historical opponents. Morocco, I don't think they gave due respect to, because as you Scots kind of saw in the second game, Morocco are a very handy side, and as the world saw in the 2022 World Cup, they've got a lot of handy players, Morocco, but I think Brazilians probably, I don't know, I think it takes them a while to kind of recognise a newly emerging quality side. So for that reason, I think they were expecting to win comfortably, and they were really surprised to find themselves a goal down and kind of struggling a little bit. And then at that stage, I guess, after the game, they kind of tried to look for a scapegoat, and in a similar style to what I've just said, the scapegoat in the Brazilian press seemed to be mostly Igor Thiago, who you probably know from football, our side of the pond, is playing for Brentford at the moment. And I think there's a certain kind of snobby attitude in Brazil that kind of says, well, that's not a big club. And, as we know, Brentford have, outplayed the likes of, I don't know, Spurs or Newcastle this year. They finished in the top 6, deserve a bit of respect. But because of that lack of historical pedigree, I think Brazilians have been like, well, why have we got a Brentford player in the national side? And, we would say, well, Igor Thiago's been scoring 1 in 2 for a long time. He's a good player. That's why he's in. But to Brazilians, it's like they don't want a Brentford player, or they've got Ryan as well from Bournemouth in the squad. They're not keen on that either. And the other scapegoat, I guess, has been Casemiro, who he's kind of perceived to be slowing down a little bit. So, yeah, it didn't go down too well the first game. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Thiago curled himself in glory from what I saw of the game. I don't think he had
He didn't have a great game to be fair as well. He did kind of leave himself open to criticism.
Yeah, but they did replace him with Matthias Cunha, who had a strong season with Manchester United, and that decision proved to be justified because he scores 2 decent goals, and Vinny gets the goal. What's the post-match reflections of that game against Haiti? Obviously, the team was pretty much done at half-time.
A lot happier. I think after the first game, since Ancelotti has joined, he's been with Brazil for just over a year now. I think it was last May, so it's like just over 12 months. And with Ancelotti, it's been like the most protracted honeymoon ever. They've really taken to Ancelotti from the beginning. He's really kind of charmed the Brazilian press. He's charmed the pants off everyone. Even kind of, the Neymar thing was kind of typical of his kind of, charm and propaganda offensive with the Brazilian press. He kind of thought it's probably easier to put him in than not, I think, in the end. Tim's talked in a lot more detail about that. So he's been kind of in the good books, but I thought as soon as they get a bad result, they're going to be on his back. And sure enough, after the Morocco game, he was quite heavily criticised for making the wrong selections from the start. Igor Thiago, for example, did 1 or 2 other changes, and he really needed a really comfortable win against Haiti to get himself back in the good books, and they managed to provide that, but you would kind of expect them to be quite comfortable against Haiti, I think. So it's given him a bit more leeway, but I don't think they're entirely convinced yet, because it's still only Haiti. So I think the Brazilians are going to put a lot of importance in the next game, which is obviously the one we're talking about.
Is it because Ancelotti is perceived as pragmatic because he comes from Italian football and the European culture, whereas Brazil are all about the samba, the flair, and the beautiful football that has been perceived? Although we've discussed before, there have been some cynical Brazil sides before as well.
Yeah. I would say not so much, John, because the tradition of Brazilian coaches really is more often than not towards the pragmatic side. Scolari, when he won it in 2002, was the kind of the master pragmatist. A lot of the Brazilian coaches historically have come from the south of the country and have been a little bit more towards pragmatism, discipline, etc., with the football art, the artistic football of the 80s, perhaps under Telly Santana, could be an exception, but you could even include that. But I think Brazilians are very open to a kind of a pragmatic, disciplined coach, as long as he can win. So I don't think they're kind of stylistically that worried, as long as the team is operating efficiently and getting the right results.
Yeah, fair enough. It's good to hear a different perspective, because as you're aware, being European, there's a certain perception that seems to be labelled, but obviously it's good to hear the other side. Now, I mean, you've obviously touched on Thiago and Casemiro. Who else has been disappointed, or is it mainly those two that are the scapegoats so far?
I think probably more than individuals. I think the issue in the Morocco game particularly was maybe a little bit more structural. I think the midfield, the balance of attacking and defensive midfield. I mean, they've gone with Paquetá, who you might remember from his West Ham days, Bruno Guimaraes, who obviously from Newcastle. And Casemiro, who we know well from Manchester United. And it's kind of getting the balance right in midfield, really. I mean, Casemiro is excellent at what he does, but maybe slowing down a little bit, as a kind of a defensive midfielder. And he can play a bit as well. I mean, I wouldn't want to, kind of label him a water carrier, as Cantona once called Didier Deschamps. He can sure play a bit, but Casemiro's a more defensive midfielder. Guimaraes maybe something between the two, kind of a bit more deep lying, but a bit more of a playmaker. And then Paquetá, maybe a little bit lightweight, but better going forward. So I don't know. I don't know if he's quite got the balance in midfield right. I don't know if there's quite enough steel in there, and I think that might be something Scotland can look at exposing. Which kind of foresees one of the next questions, I guess.
Yeah, let's certainly hope so. From our point of view, in terms of water carriers, so to speak, I think every team kind of needs that. I mean, if you think of some of the great Brazil teams,
yes.
Dunga, Gilberto, just two that are rhyme off.
Yes.
But in terms of Scotland, we've obviously had a 1-0 win, a 1-0 defeat. What have you made of the performances and results from a neutral viewpoint, so to speak?
The Scots. Well, I don't know if an Englishman can ever be neutral about Scotland entirely, John. But I'll do my level best. I mean, I thought you were good in the first game. I mean, I noticed there was quite a lot of criticism over the Haiti game in some quarters. I think your boy in midfield there, Lewis Ferguson, seemed a bit surprised by it, and I can kind of understand it because I mean, you got the job done, and I thought you were fairly effective in most areas. And I think I think it's the third time historically that you've kicked off with a win. I mean, the previous two times, one of them was a time that you were in the group with Brazil. It was let me think.
74 and 82.
74, correct. 74, correct. Exactly, yeah. And I mean, that year you kicked off against Zaire, didn't you? You won against Zaire 2-0, and that was the famous Zaire team that had the player who came out of the wall to kick the ball. That free kick. That's quite a famous incident, isn't it? And quite a dark incident actually, because actually he was doing that trying to get sent off because the country was under quite a brutal dictatorship and it was kind of a protest. But anyway, it's another story. But anyway, no, I thought you started well. I thought you got the points on the board while other teams have struggled. I mean, Spain failed to do it. Portugal failed to do it. Ecuador couldn't beat Curacao yesterday. You would have put your money on Ecuador to win that one, especially, qualifying above Brazil. So, a lot of more, kind of seasoned veteran teams, but Spain, Portugal couldn't win. You got the win. So I thought it was a great start. And then Morocco, I mean, we've talked about them a little bit already. They gave Brazil huge problems. The, semi-finalists last tournament. They're a team who deserve huge respect. And you ran them close and had good spells in the game, I think, really. I mean, so I mean, I think it's been a really good start for you guys. But I mean, I guess in terms of points on the board, it leaves you going into the final game in a kind of, a more discernibly Scottish kind of predicament, doesn't it? It's always been do or die in that last game, hasn't it, for Scotland? So it kind of leaves you in kind of familiar territory in a sense. But overall, I think it's been a good tournament, and I think what's a bit different from the previous tournaments is the number of third place teams that will go through, which gives you a great chance, I think.
Yeah, the result on Wednesday will obviously play a lot to it. I mean, obviously from our perspective, a point should be enough. A one goal defeat might be enough. Anything below that is a bit of worry. But we'll just need to wait and see how that goes. But who did Brazil most fear in the Scotland team?
I would probably guess. I mean, these kind of questions, it depends on the opposing team's knowledge of your team, doesn't it? But I would probably guess off the top of my head, McTominay. And the specific reason for that is what we've talked about, really. I mean, Casemiro's kind of slowing down. He's a quality player, but will he have the energy? Will he have the lungs to deal with McTominay's energy? I think that's the weak area in the Brazilian team, really. Because, like I said, I mean, in the rest of the midfield, they got Paquetá, who's talented but a little bit lightweight, and it depends who Ancelotti goes with, because he might shake it up. But I tend to think in midfield you could outmuscle them in the centre. That could be an area, and also not only outmuscle, but I think you should try to play at a high tempo, probably, because I think. I mean, he's nowhere near as old as Modric, but to get an England reference in, I mean, Modric has tortured England in the past, as has Pirlo in the midfield area, and there was no greater success for England the other night than watching Modric trudge off after 57 minutes. That was kind of Croatia admitting that he's slowing down a little bit, and the tempo of the game was too fast for him. So I think, you'll be looking to do something similar. And I think, players like McTominay will be really key in that, in the middle of the park. Lewis Ferguson too. Yeah.
Yeah, good luck to Scotland playing a high tempo in the Miami Heat. I think
yes. I mean, there is that issue. I mean, it's the same for both sides, but yeah, it's tough to do that. I mean, I was surprised England managed it, really. I mean, the same kind of problem. It's not really a British thing to manage high tempo in the heat, is it? But yeah, I mean, I think you've got a fit team. I think, you've got a lot of experience from top leagues now. I mean, it kind of reminds me of you've had Serie A players in the past, haven't you? Kind of a cadre of Serie A players back in the 70s, so many. Jordan and Lorimer, Dalglish, Bremner, and you've kind of got that again. I mean, I'm not sure they're quite that caliber, but McTominay was absolutely crucial, wasn't he, to winning the title for Napoli, and that's been done 4 times in a century. So that was a pretty big achievement.
Yeah, well, McTominay is held by the Napoli fans is up there with Maradona.
Yes,
so, they've got murals about him and things over there.
Yeah. No, he's a real cult figure, isn't he? And quite rightly too. I mean, like I say, 4 times in a century, and I mean, 2 of those were Maradona, really, weren't they? So it's like, he's a massive breakthrough. I would never have guessed in a million years when he left Manchester United that was going to be the story.
Yeah, it's incredible, and hopefully can come up with a moment on Wednesday. But let's get a score prediction from you, Mark. So the country that you've been writing about versus the country who are your rivals from an England point of view, what do you think the score's going to be?
Well, Tim would probably kind of smile pityingly at me for saying this, because I think he thinks that Brazil will come through quite comfortably, and he's a lot closer to the Brazilian football culture than me. But I'm going to go for a 1-1. I think you can do it. I'm kind of known for my optimism, but I honestly think, if you play your best and you're energetic in midfield, I think you can get a draw.
Well, I would certainly take that, Mark. So let's hope so. And we shall wait and see if Brazil deliver another knockout blow to Scotland, as has been in the past, or if Scotland can finally get a result against their World Cup nemesis. Thanks for your time, Mark. Enjoy the rest of the World Cup, and well done
Absolute
again
pleasure.
on the success of Mundialis.
Thanks very much, John.
All right, thanks to John for doing that extra interview. It's been great to get. I definitely read that book. Okay, so let's look ahead to Brazil. Are we in a tricky situation at this point? Because we know that we would love to get a result in this game, but in trying to get it, we risk doing ourselves more damage because we also know maybe a 1-0 defeat actually helps us get through. I'll go to you, Josh. First.
Well, I mean, the thing is, right, we can't have another we can't go into this game and set up defensively and have another situation like what happened against Morocco, right? We're 1 minute into the game and, a defender, this case Grant Hanley, makes a split second stupid decision. He tries to play the offside trap 1 minute into the game, allows the boy on, bang, great finish, goal. And then within a minute into the game, we're 1-0 down because we're talking about Brazil here, but using the example that we've just seen in Morocco, we're 1 minute into the game there, and then we've got a mountain to climb because the mountain to climb doesn't also, it includes not conceding any more goals. It includes trying to score a goal back. So we can't have another situation like that. I would rather go into this game and go with a balanced style of play, right? Solid at the back, right? If we can get McKenna back in, I don't know what his fitness status is going to be. If we can get McKenna and Hendry back in the team, that would be ideal for me. Robertson and Hickey. Hickey looked a wee bit shaky, to be honest, against Haiti. And I think he picked up a knock as well, which is why Patterson played. But that would be my back four, to be honest with you. And I think Gunn's been okay. He was decent in the Morocco game. So that would be my back five, if you like it. Moving forward from there, I think, you've got to get... it's difficult to say. Ferguson's been the best player, I think, him or Hendry. So I think Ferguson's got to play. You've got to get McTominay in at attacking mid, right? So I think you're then looking at Ferguson, McGinn, McTominay, Gannon Doak, or do you put McGinn out wide and bring McLean in? Maybe that's what I would do. Bring McLean in, McLean, Ferguson, McGinn out wide, Gannon Doak, McTominay, and Christie, you're forgetting about him, fuck. So yeah, headaches here. Steve Clark's got headaches. But I think, and the striker, yeah, I think we need to go with the traditional 4-5-1. I think we need 4 defenders, a goalkeeper, 5 midfielders and attacking midfielders, and a striker. I think that's how we need to approach this game. We can't come away from this game like we did in the Hungary game at the Euros, where we went in too much respect, wanted to soak up pressure and hit them on the counter when Hungary were miles below us. I know they were at the Euros, they were off getting good results in the qualifications and against England and all that, but miles below us in terms of quality. I don't think that we can approach this game. It is Brazil, right? So we can't approach it in the same way that I'm talking about Hungary there. But I think we just need to let our boys do their talking on the pitch. I think we need to let them express themselves. I think we need to let them show what quality footballers they are, right? And it's a cliche, but don't finish this tournament with any regrets. Don't go into this tournament. If we go 1-0 down straight away with the formation that I'm suggesting here, if we go 1-0 down straight away, like we did against Morocco, we've got a far better chance of getting back into this, than we did against Morocco the other day. So I just think we need to go in with a bit more gumption, a bit more flair. Ben Gannon Doak see when he come on against Morocco and against Haiti, every time he was getting the ball, he was causing problems. You know, he can cause problems. We've got players, McTominay, McGinn, Shankland. We've got players that can cause problems against teams. So play them and play them in the right positions and tell them, get yourselves forward and cause Brazil issues because Brazil don't look great at the back.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with your team up until you were mentioning Christie. I don't think Christie's really deserving a starting lineup at this point, so I would go with that one with McLean in the middle, maybe McTominay out wide. Grant, anything you see there that you would change?
Well, I have to say, I mean, I agree with Josh with a lot of that team lineup. The only thing I would maybe go with is I would actually go with a formation I would have liked to have seen against Morocco, which would have been a 4-1-4-1. I would have liked to have seen a little bit of width up out the side so that at least we have an out ball. I felt we missed that in the first 40 minutes against Morocco. It goes back to what I said earlier on. I think we need to, as Josh says, have something there to try and test this Brazil defence. I mean, yes, they've got some good players in this Brazil team, but they're not the team of the 90s and the early 2000s. They don't have a Ronaldo. They don't have a Roberto Carlos. They don't have a Cafu. They don't have a Dunga. You know, they've got some good players, but, you know, I mean, they've got a false nine who's not a striker in Matheus Cunha for Man United. So, you know, yes, you've got some brilliant players. Vinny Jr. speaks for itself. Rafinha, we know what he's capable of at Barcelona. Marquinhos and Gabriel are two excellent centre-backs, no doubt about that. But they've had big club seasons. You know, Marquinhos obviously a Champions League winner. Gabriel's come off the big of a big season with Arsenal in the Premier League. You know, I don't think Brazil's midfield scares me as well. You know, I mean, yes, Casemiro's had a decent career with United. Obviously, he's finished his club career now with United. Guimaraes, a good player. He's only just coming back from injury from Newcastle. Paquetá, I think, is a bit of a joker in the pack. You don't really know what you're going to get from him at times. But I do feel that we can get at this Brazil team. I don't think we should be scared of them. And that's my big worry with Clark. I think he's going to be too scared to it. And we've seen it before. Josh has referenced Hungary. You know, we've seen it with even other games as well, like the Switzerland game. You know, 1-1 in that second half. I felt we could have gone for it in that Euros. But, you know, I agree with Josh's team at the back. You know, I would stick with that back five. By the way, in terms of my player of the tournament, I think Jack Hendry's been excellent for us. I think he's been outstanding. He was brilliant in the Haiti match, and I thought he was even better in the Morocco game. I thought he really, really was solid. And he had to dig in because Grant Hanley had a bit of a difficult night in the Morocco game, and he wasn't outstanding in the Haiti match either. It's the midfield conundrum where I have the big problems. Because for me, I was canvassing for Ryan Christie to play in that number 6 role like he does for Bournemouth. But for me, he's played himself out of the team with a couple of really indifferent performances. I thought he was really sketchy in the Haiti game, and I didn't think he was good in the Morocco match either. I agree Ferguson's had a good tournament. I still think there's more to come from Lewis Ferguson. I still think there is more to come from him. I would still obviously play him in there. But I would probably go for Kenny McLean because I think he's come on and done fairly well. And Steve Clarke trusts Kenny McLean. So I would probably have him as the sitter in front of that back four. McTominay and McGinn probably have to play, but what I will say is I've actually been disappointed by both of those guys in the tournament so far. Now, yes, there's mitigating circumstances with McTominay and what's happened there, but John McGinn's had a very indifferent tournament for me. And yes, he's come off the back of a brilliant season with Villa, winning the Europa League, but he looks jaded. He looks a little bit disjointed. He struggled to create anything in that Morocco match. Yes, he scored in the Haiti game, but let's be honest, guys, it was a couple of deflections and in. You know, it'd take a little bit of a break, but he did miss a couple of chances in that second half as well. So I think we need to see a bit more from John McGinn. But I think he has to play because him and McTominay, they speak for themselves. I would like to see Doak start as well. So if I'm going if McLean is my sitter, then I would go with Ferguson, McTominay and McGinn. And then you've got, you know, probably Doak. And I'm going to go back to what I said earlier on. I think we need a target man to go head-to-head against this centre-back partnership. And for me, it's between Shankland and Dykes. I mean, Hurst, for me, you know, a lot of people are saying Hurst could be the wild card. I know Big Dunk has said that on ITV. I'm not really seeing it. I don't think he's done enough at Scotland level to warrant that opportunity. Shankland, it's not quite happened for him. I think Shankland needs the service from other players to be effective. I think Dykes needs to be as well. I think if Dykes could get that service, he could be a bit of a threat for us. But the way we're going to play, is he going to get it? Not so sure. I think we're going to need somebody at the top end of the pitch that's going to buy a free kick or two, get us up the pitch, maybe get a set piece and see what we can do about it. Because let's be honest, I don't think we're going to create a lot of out-and-out chances in this game. I think our best threats are going to be from set plays. I think we need to, I agree with Josh, I'd like to see McTominay playing a little bit more attacker, because even in that Haiti game, when he did get that opportunity, when he smashed the post, that's what I wanted to see from him a wee bit more, just getting into that attacking area and causing problems. But I mean, I mentioned that Brazil team there, but it is Brazil. Brazil will not want to finish second in this group. It's Brazil, for goodness sake. They are the all-time record winners of this Football World Cup. Brazil have not known anything else than finishing first. Whether it's winning a group, whether it's winning a tournament. Anything else is a disaster for the Brazilians. Now, I have said numerous times to many, many people, I met Guy Mowbray in York in April, and I said to him when I met him, I felt that Morocco would win our group. Well, if that's going to happen, we're going to have to keep Brazil out, and Morocco are going to score a bucket load off Haiti. So that's the scenario we've got here. And, it's still on, and it could happen. But we're going to have to probably be a little bit more courageous, and we're going to have to be brave in the key moments, because they will have a lot of the ball. We're probably going to have to dig in. We're probably going to have to. It's going to be a nervy night. There's no doubt about it. I think we have to stay in the game. It's going to be like the Scottish Cup final with Aberdeen playing Celtic. Sorry, Krys. It's about staying in the game, and when you get your chance, you've got to take it. And the longer it stays 0-0. The more I believe we can get over the line. A draw would be an unbelievable result, and I would take 0-0 right now. I'd bite your hand off for it. But I just don't want us to, for want of a better word, shit ourselves. But at the same time, I don't want us to go too gung-ho either, because, as Josh says, we still are in a good position, but we can't let this opportunity pass by. I go back to that carrot. It's there for us. We got to reach out and grab it. It's not going to come to us. And this is our date with destiny, and we've got to realise that this is our moment of truth, and we've got to answer it.
I think one of the things that this, the requirement for us to get at least a 0-0 or a 1-0 defeat, what that shows is that how big a miss Billy Gilmore has been. Because
yes, I agree with you entirely.
You're talking about 4-1-4-1 there, Grant, right? And I think that actually probably would be the ideal formation, right? I'm talking 4 defenders, two combative centre mids, McGinn, Ferguson there, right? And in between, somebody who can receive the ball, who can speed it up, slow it down, can dictate the play.
Be that box-to-box player.
The only other player in the team like Billy Gilmore, slightly like Billy Gilmore, I would say, in terms of his ability to pass and play, is Kenny McLean. That's why I would want to play him.
Yeah.
But would I be happy? I would be far, far happier with Billy Gilmore in there. So he's been an absolutely enormous loss, you've got to say.
Huge. I totally concur.
Yeah, I think the key point here is we need to play the players that are on form in the right positions. So it's going to be McTominay in that 10 spot. It's going to be Doak out wide. It is going to be Jack Hendry at the back. I totally agree. I mean, I've been critical of Jack Hendry in the past, particularly at his time at Celtic. I couldn't stand him, to be honest. He has been great in his first 2 games, and I hope he continues that in the Brazil game. But who we play alongside him is a big question. If we can get McKenna fit, I think that's probably our best pairing. But if he's not fit, we'll struggle.
He's become a much better player since Celtic, Krys, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And, we spoke about this earlier on in our group chat. You think now he looks like the player that was it Dundee he was at before he went to Celtic, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was at a few clubs, but Dundee particularly. He looks now like the player we thought he might turn into. But the problem is that he's playing at a level now, make loads of money, fair enough. But he's playing at a level that doesn't really offer any sort of challenge. So it's a shame, really, because, in McKenna and Hendry, if both were playing at the level that both of them really probably should be playing at, there's 2 really good centre-halves.
Absolutely.
I was having a look, by the way, guys, just before we move any further. That it was one of the things to look at is on Instagram a page called Football Meets Data, and as we're recording this, the third place qualification probability, if we were to get the 4 points, then that'd be 99.7% or higher to get through. But then you're into the 3 points bracket, which we are in at the moment. From 3 points and +2, which obviously we will get that because we'll have won the game because if we get that or even get we will do. So if we stuck with where we are, like a 0-0, that would give us a 99% chance of qualifying. It then drops significantly when you drop to -5 or -4. But if we say lost the game 2-0, so we finish with a -2 goal difference, that would still be 87% chance of qualification. Now, do we want to leave it to the calculations or the models or the percentages? That's what you're getting down to. But yeah, very, very good page to follow during this World Cup. Football Meets Data on Instagram.
Definitely. The percentages thing worries me quite a bit just because weird things happen.
Very much so, very much so. And
but-
this is the thing, do we want to leave it down to that or do we want to go out and get that carrot ourselves? I say the latter.
Yeah, so as you touched on earlier, it is going to be a goal chase between Morocco and Brazil for their perspective to try and win the group. One name you didn't mention when you were rhyming him off is a guy who's supposedly coming back for this game. Should we or should we not be worried about Neymar? Go you,
No.
Josh.
Do you know, I mean, is it Saudi he's playing, isn't it? I think it is. Because Jack Hendry was asked at the press conference, and he mentioned that he came up against Neymar a few times in Saudi. He might have been in Saudi and he's not there anymore.
He's currently at Santos in Brazil.
Santos, right? He's went back to Santos. Was he in Saudi?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, at one point. I mean, Neymar's had a few injuries over the past couple of years. Admittedly, he's playing at Santos now. Haven't seen anywhere near as much of him as we did in these days at PSG and Barcelona.
It's probably near where his sister lives.
Yeah, right near Garancho and his goat. I don't know if this is going to be the Neymar that burst onto the scene. Ironically, burst onto the scene for Brazil versus Scotland at the Emirates. I want to say in 2010 or 9.
I just remember him diving. I don't remember when it was.
Yeah, I remember him 17. Nobody had ever heard of him here. And he played a game against Scotland and he was absolutely unplayable. I think he was 17 or 16 at the time. So I don't think we're going to see that same boy. However, he's still Neymar. So yeah. And this is my worry, right? Because is Steve Clarke going to look at that on a sheet of paper and think, oh no, we need to double up against him? You know, that's the worry for me. Vinicius Junior probably would be the one I would be a lot more worried about than Neymar.
I'm in total agreement.
Yeah, because I mean they're at the top of their game right now. Neymar's certainly for the past couple of years been on the downward slope. I mean they have some players, Brazil, don't they? You know, the thing is, for us to definitely get through, we've only got to take a point up against Brazil. You know, it's a silly sentence to say.
No bother. Because Blaisdell was shouting that it was March 2011.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what I will say, just to go back on Neymar, is that we haven't seen the best of Rafinha yet. And I think he might have something to say about that. Vinny Jr., well, he's not going to come out of the team. So you're looking at, does Neymar start the game? I don't think he does. I think Cunha will start the game. I was looking at the substitutes they brought on from the Haiti game. Ryan, who obviously plays for Bournemouth. Endrick, who's been one that a lot of people are really talking about. You've got Danilo Santos. You've got Emerson Silva. Martinelli, of course, at Arsenal. That's good enough players there without feeling the need to risk somebody like Neymar coming in. Whereas you could maybe rest him and then he could come in for that last 32, last 16 game. Kind of as a little bit of a wild card for Brazil should they need it. So I'm going to make this bold prediction. I don't think we'll see him at all.
Wow.
I don't think he'll play unless they need a goal. I don't think he'll play.
Carlos Ancelotti is not the kind of man that will play to and ego. That's the word I'm looking for. So
yeah.
yeah,
Indeed.
you could be right. Could be right.
And did I see? Sorry, guys, did I see Rafinha's out injured?
I thought I'd seen something about that as well, but Grant was mentioning Rafinha maybe not seeing the best of him, so I don't know.
Well, perhaps,
If he's injured, then that's good news for us.
well, I know he did go off injured, I think, in the game. So, yeah, he could
Yeah,
possibly be.
yeah. Brazil confirmed Rafinha hamstring injury.
Oh, right. Oh, well, that's a bit of a boost in some ways. So, well, maybe that does.
boost for us.
Maybe we do see Neymar now.
Well, but I think we might see Endrick or Ryan because both of them are being very, very good for their clubs. And also, I mentioned about Martinelli, so you never know. He could possibly be in there as well. Brazil got so many options to choose from. This is the thing. This is the thing. Their squad and the quality that they have, even though they're not the Brazil of old, they're still playing at a high level across so many top leagues. So that shows you what we're up against on Wednesday night.
All right, so crunch time. We have played Brazil 4 times at World Cup previous, which is incidentally 3 more games we've played against the other 2 we played combined before this tournament. We'd never played Haiti, we'd only played Morocco once in France 98. Of those games, we had a goalless draw in 74, a result that would almost certainly put us through.
Yep.
We had David Neri annoying them before we lose 4-1 in 82. We had the narrow 1-0 defeat in Italia 90, and of course, there was Tom Boyd's winner, sadly for them, in 98. 3 of those 4 results probably take us through. But what are we going to do this time? Cards on the table, guys. Predictions. Go with you first, Grant.
I'm going to be a bit more positive than I thought I was going to be. I do think we will get beat on the night, but I do see us scoring. I think it might be slightly similar to the Neri game. I wouldn't be at all surprised if we drew level in the game and it was 1-1 and we were well in the game. But I think it could be a little bit like what happened at the Euros when we played Croatia. Just that little bit of quality towards the end of the game counts against us. I'm going to go 3-1 Brazil. I just think that maybe as the game goes on, maybe because we're a wee bit tired because we've put quite a lot into the game, maybe Brazil just possibly pick us off with the subs that I mentioned that even came on in the Haiti game that could do a bit of damage. Maybe a little bit of quality from Guimarães. I think we'll get a goal. I don't know how we'll get the goal, but I think we will get a goal. But ultimately, I think we get beat 3-1.
Josh.
Over his 9 years, Steve Clark. 9 years, yeah, 17, no, 18.
19, I think, wasn't it?
19, right, okay. Yeah, must be. Over his 7 years, Steve Clark's had a knack for getting big results when we really need them. So I think Scotland are going to get a 1-1 against Brazil.
He's gone for it.
I think we'll get a 1-1.
Wow, he's gone for it.
I think Brazil will score first. I think we'll equalise. And then I think it will be all Brazil. I mean, it will be the most nerve-wracking, horrible experience of our lives watching football. And I think full-time whistle will blow and it will read 1-1 on the scoreboard.
Sounds good to me. I will probably go between the 2 of you. I also agree. I think we've got a good chance of scoring. I think we will put the right people in the right places this time. And I think we may even take the lead. But I think Brazil will overpower us and we might lose 2-1. And I think that might just be enough to send us through anyway. So yeah, that's our predictions. Let's see how we get on Wednesday night. Elsewhere in the tournament, what's caught your eyes? Go for you, Josh, first.
Standout moment for me has been Cape Verde versus Spain 0-0. We talk about goals defining tournaments, etc. But that Cape Verde is such an interesting story. I mean, the centre backs that played against Spain, one of them plays for Shamrock Rovers.
Yeah.
And
The Irish have adopted them, yeah.
the other guy played for I think it was second division. Oh, I don't want to say what country. I looked it up, but I say second division, and it's not It's no like second division Italy or second division Germany. It's second division
Lithuania.
Belarus or something like that, right? I mean, it's, you know, um, they. I was told by one of my mates who follows the kind of football in that territory that they're a great footballing team. That they just talked about some of the parts earlier. They're genuinely a team of absolute jobbers who have been pulled together and are far greater a unit than the individual players would have you believe. So I really hope Cape Verde can get through to the knockouts. Just to see them, see the Sharks, see what they can do in the knockouts. Elsewhere, I mean, I just really, really hope. I really, really hope that England go out quite early so I can enjoy the tournament. I can't really properly fully enjoy the tournament outside of Scotland's games. I can't enjoy watching Germany versus who they played the other day. I can't remember. Right, let's say Netherlands versus Japan. Um, I can't fully enjoy that because at the back of my mind's thinking, are either of these going to be good enough to put England out? You know, so hopefully they go out pretty soon. I would have loved it if they'd have finished bottom of their group. You know, I loved it in the 2014,
14.
was it 14 World
Yeah.
Cup? Finished bottom of their group. Ironically, that World Cup, I mean, that World Cup, they get drawn into a group that was actually quite competitive. And sure enough, they fell flat in their arses and finished bottom of the group. Just so happens that every other major tournament, they always get drawn into a group with Andorra twice and, Andorra A and Andorra B, and then, Bosnia.
Narnia.
Yeah, something like that. So they've had their hard game in the group, Croatia, and they've managed through that. So it tells me that they're going to get through to the knockouts. Hopefully they get somebody in the knockouts that'll be able to put them out pretty quickly.
What worries me is I thought first half Croatia were the better team when going forward. They were ripping the English defence apart. England just seemed to be getting lucky in the mistakes that Croatia were making at the back. But then the second half happened and England blew them away. Like that was a phenomenal second half performance for England. And if they're capable of that, then they're capable of going deep in this tournament. Grant, what do you think, England?
I was really impressed with them against Croatia. I think for me, one of the things that I've really enjoyed about this tournament so far is the big players have come to play. Messi, Mbappe, Haaland, Harry Kane. They've all arrived. Lamine Yamal last night for Spain has joined the group chat. Brilliant, these performances. I thought Mbappe was brilliant in the Senegal game. His second goal is a thing of beauty. Messi has just been electrifying to watch. 5 goals up to pass, now breaking Miroslav Klose's all-time record goal scorers in a World Cup. And that might not last too much longer if Mbappe's got something to say about it. Let's not go any further with that. As I said, we've seen Haaland arrive, but Kane was unbelievable that night against Croatia. And let's not forget, he got a second bite of the cherry with the penalty because the keeper actually saved the penalty, because it could have been a very different night for him if that hadn't been retaken. But he's so good, Kane. His performances for Bayern Munich are just on another level. He's taken that into the England team. He's now gone past Gary. I think he's now gone past Gary Lineker, or level with Gary Lineker in terms of number of England goals. He'll go past him if not already. I mean, he is England's talisman. But what I saw in that second half with England was there was more than that came through. Bellingham came through. Elliot Anderson was really good in that second half. Marcus Rashford getting a goal as well. And the crazy thing about this, lads, is England have got 2 games left now to try and shore up that defence, who looked very shaky against Croatia. I don't think Stones looked great. Consul looked a little bit all over the place. I didn't think Pickford had a great night. And I don't think it was Declan Rice's best performance, even though he got a great corner for the goal which Kane scored, which I thought Croatia defended that terribly.
Yeah.
I think England could go very, very deep in this tournament. They will be very tough to beat. I said at the start of the tournament, there was only 4 nations I felt could win this tournament, and England were in that bracket. Spain, Argentina, and France were the other 3. I haven't changed my mind on that. They're the outstanding 4. And that's counting the fact that Josh made that Spain didn't get anything against Cape Verde. Spain turned the wick up against Saudi Arabia, and it was the most convincing victory in the tournament so far, in my honest opinion. Maybe Japan beating Tunisia, very close with that. In terms of other things that have really impressed me, I've been really impressed with some of the smaller nations really kind of taking it some of the bigger teams. Like, I know Curacao didn't do well against Germany, but that was a great moment. Comenencia scoring to make it 1-1. That was a terrific moment. And so I think we spoke off air about how I kind of aligned that very similar to when Gibraltar scored their first goal in Euros when they played ourselves. Okay, we won the game, but you know, it was a great moment for them when you look back now. But then they go and better that by getting a point against Ecuador, and suddenly they've given themselves a squeak of a chance. Now, I don't think they're going to beat Ivory Coast, but you never know. But Cape Verde certainly have a chance against Saudi Arabia. I've been really impressed with the Netherlands. That game against Sweden, I thought that was going to be one of the games of the tournament, and they blew Sweden away. Brian Brobby has really turned into a new version of Patrick Kluivert, the way he goes about his business, I think is absolutely unbelievable. But I'll tell you another thing that's really impressed me, lads, is the performances of the host nations. Now, okay, the host nations haven't had, let's be fair, the hardest of groups, but they've all shown in different ways levels of brilliance. Like Mexico were good in the opening game. It was really great to see Raul Jimenez get that goal. Very emotional moment for him. Canada looked really impressive in that Qatar match. Actually played well in the Bosnia game in that match as well. United States, I think, have been better than I expected them to be. I wasn't wasn't convinced about Pochettino, I have to be honest, but they've surprised me a wee bit. Looked very good in the game against Paraguay. There's been some good goals in the tournament as well. There's been some really nice finishes as well. There's been some nice results in there. Okay, we've had a few red cards in there. I think we've now doubled the amount of red cards up to pass than we had at the 22 World Cup. For me, it's been better than Qatar already, and we haven't even got past the group stage yet. So there's more to come. And I think there's more nations that I think are continuing to surprise and kind of sneak under the radar and could do some damage. Japan are one of those teams. I think they could be one to keep an eye on. I've been really impressed with Germany, kind of going under the radar a wee bit. Dug it out last night against Ivory Coast. One of their best, but they dug it out. I mentioned about the States. I think Switzerland, the way that they played that second half against Bosnia looked good. And, other nations like Colombia could do some damage, but it's still very early days. But I go back to what I said at the beginning. For me, there's 4 teams that I think can win this. Argentina, France, Spain, and England. For me, the winner comes out of that 4. Anybody else comes out of that 4, as I mentioned, a wild card pick, maybe a Dutch or something, are going to have to play extremely well to win it. They're going to have to beat 1, if not 2, if not 3, if not all 4 of those nations to win it. And I think that's going to be so, so tough the way this tournament's going. So that's my thoughts. I think it's been good so far, and there's more to come.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really enjoying watching these games, even if they are ridiculous times of day for us, unfortunately. At least I'm not having to work at the same time as watching them. So that's good. I would tend to agree. I think the big nations have turned up for the most part. I think I actually really like watching the Netherlands at the moment. It's been a while since I've liked watching the Netherlands. It's still in the back of my head. It's that 2010 team that tried to kick Spain off the park. I think they're finally blown that away. And right, Robbie has been terrific, and I can't help but laugh at his name because it's Blobby to me.
Question for you guys: Who would you like to see win the tournament?
I'm going to say a new nation, because I think somebody new and somebody fresh would be really nice to see. I'd quite like to see Japan do it, because it would be a team from Asia. No Asian team's ever won it. I think that would be nice. I think Ange Postecoglou spoke extremely well and very candidly about Japan, that in the future they could win one. I don't think it's this one, but maybe in the next 8-12 years they could be. Would I like to see Morocco win it? I think they're Africa's best chance. Of the hosts, who's the best chance? I think the USA do, but I don't think they get beyond the quarters. I don't think any of the hosts get past the quarters, in my opinion. Yeah. But for a kind of hand on heart one, I would love to see Japan do it. But I think it's too early for them. But I think they're on their way to maybe winning one in the future.
There's a nation of about 5 million people I'd quite like to see one up that have never won it before. So that would be
Uh,
realistically, if I wanted a new nation to win it, I think it would probably be the Dutch. I think they've
yeah.
one that wouldn't have impressed me the most as far as a team that hasn't won it before. I still think it's France that's going to win the trophy. I'd said that before the tournament. I don't know what you guys have, if you guys have changed your predictions to start seeing
I,
the teams.
I said Spain at the start of the tournament. I think I still stick with that because I think there is more to come from them. But I have been impressed with France and I have been impressed by England. And with Messi in the form he is for Argentina, you can never rule out the defending champions. So I go back to what I said. I think it's between those four. It's an interesting comment you made on the Dutch, Krys, because I think of the chasing pack, they're probably in the lead. But what I would worry for is the region back line. I'm not really been impressed with Van Dijk. I don't think Verbruggen, their goalkeeper's particularly outstanding either. But they have got some great players. Dumfries a great player. Brobbey scores goals. They've got a lot of players that are playing in good form for their clubs. So they could do a team. Koeman as well. Is he too negative? I don't know. We'll see. They'll be in the mix, but I don't think they get beyond the semis if they do get there.
Josh, how's your predictions holding up?
I can't remember who I predicted to win. I think I probably said Spain at the start, actually, just based on the midfield, but I'm edging towards probably France. Yeah, probably France. I think I mean, they've probably for me have looked the most convincing. Who would I like to win it? I'm probably in the same lines as you, Krys. I'd like to see the Dutch win it. Um, it just always underlines when you think about who, the fact like the Dutch have never won a World Cup. Um, it always just seems crazy, and then you remind yourself how few nations have actually ever won a World Cup. Um, yeah, I'd like to see somebody new win it. Definitely the Dutch. Maybe like you've mentioned there, Grant, the Japanese, they would be quite good to see win it, but I think it's unrealistic. Um, couldn't North Americans. I don't think I could stomach America, the USA winning it. Um, I would like to see someone new winning it. The thing is, in that, as you alluded to a wee bit there, Grant, with the whole thing about top of the chasing pack, I think if you want somebody new to win it, you're really, really limited then to just a few nations. You're really limited to the Dutch, the Moroccans, probably the two that are most realistically,
Yes.
probably maybe Portugal as well. But would you like to see Ronaldo win a World Cup? Um,
I don't think Portugal won that with Ronaldo in that team. I think he's dragging them back at this point.
oh, he's definitely
Concur
is.
entirely.
He definitely is.
Concur
And I don't
entirely.
think Martinez has got the cojones to drop him either, unfortunately.
I'll tell you now.
Martinez is a fraud, Chris. Martinez is an absolute fraud manager. Sorry, but he is. Mate, he took the best generation of players Belgium have ever had. One of the best on paper, one of the best teams in Europe. One of the best teams in Europe. And he done absolutely fucking nothing with them.
I,
So
I've been surprised at how bad the Belgians are even this tournament.
yeah.
They still have a massive
Still have a
amount
base
of
of players,
talent in there, and they can't get them to play together somehow. And
Yeah.
I can't figure out what the secret is that they would gel them together into being that good team.
But Chris,
Because they could be up there if they could.
think about how good that Belgium team was 8 years ago,
Oh, absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
Lukaku up top, Mertens, De Bruyne when he was a bit younger. God, who else? Vertonghen,
Courtois and
Witsel,
goal.
Courtois. They'd like four world-class defenders in their back four. I mean, they were one of the best teams
Yeah. And Wales beat them.
on paper in the world.
Euro 2016, Wales knocked them out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it was deserved.
That's despite a wonderful goal by one of my favourite players at the time, Rajan 9 goal, and what a great strike that was.
Axel Witsel was always my favourite just because of the name.
I know.
Well, okay, I think we'll call it there. As always, thanks to Grant and Josh for joining me tonight. All that remains now is for me to say good luck to Scotland against Brazil. Maybe, just maybe, we can finally beat them at the first attempt. But let's face it, we'd all settle for a repeat of the 1974 draw right now. And hopefully we'll be back later this week to not only review how that went, but to preview what's still to come. Happy soccer!